Wait, am I hosting this?
Yeah.
Some people have more dollars than they have cents.
You are Locked On Chargers Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Los Angeles on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What is up, and welcome into the Locked On Chargers squad show / postcast show. We got the boys in town today. I'm filling in for Pete Fox. I am Daniel Wade, host of the Locked On Chargers daily show Monday through Friday. And then I'm also joined by three-time Super Bowl champ Kenjon Barner in the house, and Jim Daniels gracing us with his presence. And what a day to be here, boys. Look at the background of Kenjon Barner. We all are putting things aside today to be here for this show, and it's because of what the Chargers just did. What a game. Basically, locking up their playoff spot, proving a couple of really key things. I think the first thing, offense getting on track. With this defense they were going up against today, it was now or never, especially for their passing game, and we saw Justin Herbert absolutely catch fire in this one. The defense, after looking like a really bad defense, comes up with a second half shutout in this one, which was huge for Jesse Minter's unit to prove against this big offense that they had going into this game, and then also just so many big-time characters today. Quentin, Johnston. Can I get a QJ in the chat?
Wow.
That man,
absolutely.
A career game for him, not just the numbers, it was how it happened. Some really big-time plays. But today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com. Place your NFL live bets all season long. And Kenjon, man, we said it, a tale of two halves. This game looked like it was going to be 42-42. The first team to punt was going to be the team that lost this one. And the Chargers pick up a gigantic win. Getting to 11 wins right now with what their season has been, with the attrition they faced, to come into this one and have this kind of proving ground to be able to show, hey, we're a team to really be, reckoned with later on in the postseason. I thought they did a great job today.
Yeah, man, they did a phenomenal job coming out locked in, focused. Obviously, the tale of two halves, right? You had first half defense looking like this was going to be a shootout, the first of 50 wins. But both defenses settled down the second half. The Chargers outlasted the Cowboys defensively, able to get more stops, being able to turn Dak over. Just came to play, man. Played a great game today, great ball, great play calling by Greg Roman and by our D coordinator. So this was one of them ones. We're heading and trending in the right direction as the season is winding down.
And the way this thing was going to begin with, 5 drives, 5 scores, like you said, KB, it's like, wow, first one to 50 or probably even more than that is going to wind up winning this thing. But you know what? Every week there's another rookie on this team that steps up, makes a big play. And I gotta throw love at Justin Herbert too, because this guy, he knew what he was in for. Dak has been on fire this year on offense, and he's like, I'm in for a shootout today. I got to show him I'm every bit as good as he is. He threw dimes all over the place. That dime to McConkey, how about that throw? Wow, just absolutely amazing. They stepped up, they accepted the challenge. Oh, you guys want to score a lot of points? You want to run track meet? Let's go. Love it.
Yeah, and I think it was a big deal for them to prove that they could do that, right? Because as good as your defense is, look at the Seahawks-Rams game, right? Two good defenses, 2 really good offenses. At some point, your offense has to be able to answer the call no matter how good your defense is. And for the Chargers, I thought it was good for them to be in this environment, Jim, where, to your point, they had to be on. They couldn't just kind of, sleepwalk their first couple of drives and have, a 3 and out and then come up empty with a couple points. They could have gotten left in the dust, and I think that changes the entire complexion of this game. And it really was the Chargers just continuing to answer the call. There were just so many times where it just felt like it could get away from them. They could put themselves in a hole, and they just kept really going. First of all, just the offense, the first 3 drives, right? Justin Herbert basically untouchable. I think you could say, well, why was the offense so good? Justin Herbert got sacked 0 times in the first half. But those, and the other thing too, to your point, Jim, the catalyst of those first 2 drives, even though it was different guys getting the touchdown, to me, it was actually Trey Harris. 3 catches for 48 yards on those first 2 touchdown drives, where you have Quentin Johnston finishing one with maybe the best catch of his career, and we'll get to him. But Trey Harris Omarion Hampton, Keandre Lambert-Smith has a third down that's huge where he catches it 5 yards short of the sticks and then
Stays
still
in
finds a way to
bounds.
slither up the sideline to get that first down. So, like, that has been the story of the Chargers season, Jim. Like, the Chargers don't get to 11 wins with 2 games left to play without the contributions of these rookies. And I thought it was Trey Harris, maybe, you know, the 4th receiver on the depth chart coming into this one with Quentin Johnston back, who really kind of buoyed them on those first 2 drives to help them keep pace in a game that was looking like a track meet.
Johnston was absolutely amazing. I mean, you know, at first I didn't even realize that's a one-handed grab until they showed it down and gave us the super expo. I'm like, that's even better than I thought it was. But you know, the thing is like in the beginning of the season, I think we all found ourselves saying, what's wrong with Ladd McConkey? We need to get the ball to Ladd McConkey more. You know what? They have so many guys that are competent. They can get the ball. They can do something with it after they get it. KLS, wow, what a draft pick that guy turns out being. I mean, I love the Chargers offensive attack because, man, it's got defense wondering, where's this thing coming from?
Yeah, 100%.
When you have an offense that is as potent as the Charger offense is because of the weapons that are accessible to Justin Herbert, it makes a team because you can't game plan for one specific guy. Last season, you could specifically game plan for Ladd McConkey. Quentin Johnston was having his ups and downs catching the ball last season. So your game plan was literally stop Ladd McConkey, and Ladd still had a hell of a year last year.
Yeah.
But this year, when you have a Keenan Allen, you have Ladd, you have Quentin Johnston, you have Trey, you have KLS, you have Gaston, all these guys that have emerged that wasn't here last year, it becomes almost impossible to guard this team. And so I know Pete typically here, you know, Ladd. We don't have to use Ladd as much as we used him last year. There isn't a need for him like there was. There's so many weapons on this offense. So it's a great problem to have, and it's a fortunate problem that we have as an offense, as a Charger offense.
Well, and to your point, Kenyon, like probably the best offensive performance of the season, the cleanest offensive performance of the season, Rondé Gadsden, right? 1 catch for 7 yards, and it didn't matter. And that just, I think, goes to show how many, guys they have where, like, that was probably the most impressive thing of Ladd's rookie season is just, like, you go back and look at some of those 49ers offenses in the Greg Roman, of years past, and you go back to the even when he was with the Ravens, you don't have a ton of 1,000-yard receivers, right, or multiple guys having incredibly large productive seasons. It just doesn't really happen in that offense, which is what made Ladd's, 1,200 yards as a rookie that much more impressive last year. But yeah, I mean, you look at it, it's 4 catches for Quentin Johnston, 4 catches for Trey Harris, 5 catches for old man Keenan Allen, just continuing to come through on every third down when you need him. And then you have Ladd McConkey, just a modest 4 for 43 and a touchdown. And it's just like, man, like this is probably what this offense is supposed to look like. There isn't really one guy. And I think when you have the perfect combination of, okay, a really bad defense you have to take advantage of, and a lot of different guys you're trying to keep track of on the Chargers offense, that's going to be a long day in the office for any defense, but I think especially against this one, they had to show it. But Kenyon, we're probably getting a little too far along in this show without bringing up the running backs because, man, it does feel like Omarion Hampton, to your point, one of them ones. Like the dude just runs hard. A few more plays in this one where he's just battering dudes. And then also when you have that final drive, right, you're up by 10. Chargers fans know the story, right? You're up by 10. Oh, you kind of falter a little bit, and then now you're kicking a field goal to go up 13 with 5 minutes left. What's the worst that could happen, right? Setting yourself up for 2 touchdown drives on the other side to lose by 1 point. But it wasn't. It was the Chargers doing what they have been able to do, run the ball in the red zone. And you get Omarion Hampton on this day, right? 16 carries, 85 yards and a touchdown, shows the burst, shows the toughness, and it's really cool to see that first-round pick, right, being able to pay dividends late in the season, especially in December.
Listen, we knew what he was before he got hurt. These are the writing was on the wall. He had already shown signs of what he was capable of. Even going back to the preseason and the small sample size that I seen of him, his movement, his foot placement, his explosion, his ability to find holes, his ability to go through contact and maintain balance, you knew that this kid had something in him. Now, as season continued to progress, we watched him come along and break long runs. We saw that contact balance, and then we see it here today. A couple of weeks past, returning after the ankle injury, and now we're really seeing him find his rhythm. This is like the important part about having someone come off an injury. You work them back into the system. You continue to give them the ball, let them find the rhythm, and we see today, as you said, Got some announcements going on.
I'm going to jump in and say that and pile on to that the great thing is, I mean, this injury winds up being kind of a favor because this guy has not put in the hits. He doesn't have the mileage on him, and he's getting healthy. He's the hammer now as we go into the playoffs. I absolutely love this. I wasn't able to find anything on Kamani Vidal after the game, see how bad
injury update wise. Yeah.
What's that?
Injury update wise, I don't think we've gotten anything yet.
But I love the fact that Justin Herbert, I mean, is still 42 yards. That's a lot for your quarterback. I mean, that's obviously beyond what the average of most quarterbacks. But I mean, this guy, he's a big guy. We've talked about this a bunch, KB. This guy has been running and taking off running like that ever since he was in high school, right? It's like, look, I got this. I'm just going to go get it. I know I got a broken arm, but I'm going for it anyway. You got to love this guy's heart, his smarts. I love the way the whole team is playing right now, man. Let's shock the world. Let's do this.
Jim, you hit the nail on the head when you said that it was a blessing in disguise for Omarion to have that injury. Obviously, you don't want nobody to get hurt, but the blessing is that we got to see the emergence of Kamani Vidal. We didn't know who the second back would be after Najee went down, and so it was all on Omarion Hampton until you had to put the ball in Kamani Vidal's hand, and you had to allow him to go out there, run the ball, get 20, 25 carries, have multiple 100-yard games this season. So now you found out, okay, we have something that is behind Omarion Hampton. So not just anything, but somebody that's valuable, somebody that can go out there and get the job done himself if we need him to.
Well, and it's such a good point because, like, even though he was injured, and it's hard to, come back and rehab, a fractured ankle, obviously, but at the same time, it's just not the same as taking, 2 more months worth of hits. Like, it's just different, right? Like, and Kenyon, I'm glad he spoke on that because it just feels like, hey, when you get to, basically come off of 2 months where you haven't taken any hits, even if you're trying to kind of get that faith back in your ankle for these cuts and, these hard runs that you have to do, like, it must feel pretty bad as a running back this time of year if you've played 14 straight weeks and then you're taking all the hits. Like, it just feels like it's different than if he had to have played the last couple of months.
And it's not even the hits, right? Obviously that takes a toll on your body, but it's the weekly, the day in, the day out grind. Yeah. Like, practice is oftentimes a lot more physical than what games are. I mean, you're not going to the ground, but you're battling. You know what I'm saying? Like, your scout team, if you have a valid scout team, they're going to give you a good physical look Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whatever it is. So he misses a portion of season where there would be more wear and tear. And so now when he does step back into the lineup, he's the freshest guy on the field. Not only is he the freshest guy on there, he's one of the biggest, most explosive guys on the field. So you add that that's a dangerous combination, especially heading into this playoff run where you're going to face worn down defenses. You're going to face guys that are battling nicks here and there with things going on. So now you have the ability to take advantage of that as a running back. So it was a blessing in disguise. You never want to see anybody get hurt. But luckily it wasn't anything serious, anything career threatening. And fortunate for us, we were able to get him back. And now we're seeing him get back into that rhythm.
He doesn't seem like he'd be a fun man to have to tackle around this time of year. I don't think you don't want to tackle an Omarion Hampton, coming off of 14 straight weeks. I wouldn't want to tackle that man at all. Ever in any setting in 100-degree weather or in negative 20-degree weather. But I also just think it goes back to what this team wants to be, man. It's what it is, guys. Like, this is a team that wanted that identity in Jim Harbaugh's, first season here, but they didn't really have it. And the whole kind of picture they were trying to sell us was, imagine if Justin Herbert had a running game and even through parts of this season, I was still trying to imagine it. But now it's like in this game, in a game where Justin Herbert throws for 300 yards, you're still running for over, 130 yards in this game and still be your main identity. And this is the time of year where that can win you these games, right? This is what you do. And I mean, in the first half, it really limited the possessions that the Dallas Cowboys had. I mean, before that last drive where the Cowboys had 15 seconds left, I mean, there was 5 possessions, everyone scored. There wasn't a single point, but it's shrinking the game down. And when you do that, you have to be really efficient with that. It's like, hey, you can shrink the game down all you want. If you're not doing anything with your offensive possessions, that's not going to do anything for you, right? And the one guy we haven't really talked about yet, guys, Oh yeah, that guy with the broken hand that just went out there and just slang it all over the place and just torched this Cowboys defense. We got to talk about Justin Herbert because man, what that man has been able to do, it was nice to see the production kind of match the play that he's had over the last about month, where he's kind of willed this team to victory. It was a little easier for him on Sunday, and the offensive line deserves a huge shout out for that as well. So we're gonna get into all that and more on today's Locked On Squads episode. First, there's a very important thing I have to tell you guys about, and it is Car Gurus, because car shopping should feel exciting, not confusing. And with Car Gurus, you get the confidence you deserve. They cut through all the noise so you actually can see the best deals of the cars that you want. Because when it comes to a big purchase, you deserve the best deal. And Car Gurus makes that whole process simple by giving you real information, real deal ratings, and more listings than anyone else, so you can shop the way that you want. And if anyone has bought a car out there, I don't know if many of you have come away from it saying, hey, that was a really quick and expedient thing that I just did. No, it's, paperwork. Are they trying to get me on something? Am I getting the best deal? What am I paying for exactly? That's where Car Gurus comes in, because it makes it so much simpler for you. Their price drop alert are a lifesaver. You get notified the second a car you're watching becomes a better deal. And Car Gurus connects you with trusted dealerships for a transparent, hassle-free buying process. With over 4 million listings, the most of any major online automotive marketplace, you'll always find the best deal. Shop the way you want with the tools, data, and unbiased deal ratings that make it easy. Buy or sell your next car today at cargurus.com. That's CARGURUS.com, cargurus.com. Boys, there's more to get into here, because we haven't even talked about Justin Herbert, and we still have to touch on this defense too, which I thought, really, really showed me something specifically in this game. And the thing is, for this Chargers offense, I mean, they, with as bad as they have been, they had an ideal matchup. This was the time for them to get right. You got the Texans and the Broncos coming up the next 2 weeks. If you kind of patty caked your way through this game to a 24-17 win, it doesn't feel the same, right? They went out and they dominated them, and it started with the passing game. And Kenny, I'm sure you and P have talked about, just kind of the frustrations with Greg Roman and, multiple weeks with guys running into each other in the routes. And there's been some frustrations with that. But man, to give some credit to him, because Justin Herbert went out there and he had some open guys to throw to. He went out there, he made all the right decisions. And it was just great to see him have a big game. Obviously, there's so many different ways to win a football game. And when you get into that locker room, and you can attest to this, nobody's worried about how it happened, right? A win is a win. Unless you escape with the other team missing a chip shot field goal, you're going to feel pretty great about that almost no matter what. And I think that, Jim, the good thing about this game was, though, we saw the passing game get back on track. I don't care what opponent it is, right? It really doesn't matter. The Chargers had to do it. And then you look at Justin Herbert, what he was able to do in this game, almost an effortless 300 yards, 23 of 29, 2 touchdowns in this game, has a passer rating that we haven't seen in a while, 132.8. That man was a flamethrower. It started early and it really never finished.
And it started in the first half with a Cowboy team that came out with the attitude, it's we got nothing left but spoiler. Now what our job is try and ruin your season with this bad defense. And Justin Herbert was just not having it. It's okay, it's going to be like that. We're going to air it out then. The word that I've got to use with Justin today is effortless. Maybe it's because it was the opponent, as the scheme that he was looking at, or the people trying to guard him, or the number of options that he has to throw the ball. But man, he made it look easy to get to 300 yards today. I mean, the first half, again, 5 drives, 5 scores. I mean, it was going off all over the place. But then the defense comes back and ratchets down in the second half, and he stays the same. I mean, one of his best games, if you ask me, because you had to deliver, you had to do more than just win. You had to win big against this team, and they did. They came out, matched them every bit of energy they had. Upset us. You got upset on the mind today? No, not today. And then in the second half, here's what defense looks like. 0 to one of the hottest offenses in football. Big win today.
You know why it looked effortless today? Because he was protected. This was probably, out of all the games that we've done, this was probably the least amount of times that Herbert has been hit all season long. Easy. This was a game where we didn't see him getting up off the ground play after play after play. This was a game where we seen him be able to stand in a pocket, be comfortable in a pocket throw. There was a couple of times where he was hurried, where he had to get out of the pocket and end up using his legs or making the throw. But this was the most in control this offensive line has been for a very long time. And so when you have that time as a quarterback, you're able to kind of sit back, have a cup of coffee, dissect the defense of what they're presenting to you. You can deliver a ball and you can make it look effortless. This is who Justin Herbert is. This is what most, let me be careful when I say most. This is what the top 5, top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL will look like if they're protected. They're dangerous.
And I think honestly, like in a game like this, kind of shows you how bad the offensive line has been, because you're like, oh my God, this guy can do this. And they're really just not giving him a chance to week in and week out. And you see, okay, hey, if we can protect this guy, we have a dude who can take us to a Super Bowl and carry us, carry an offense.
D-Wade,
you be at Joe Alt right now.
Don't start with me. Don't.
Right. if we had anybody that was healthy at the beginning of the year. But this is why you have to allow the season to play out. And as fans, we can't have short-term memory, because we get into a season where we hit these rough spots and then we start to lose sight of who we have or who guys actually are. There's conversation about, is he holding on to the ball too long? No. This is still the same Justin Herbert who had one of the best rookie seasons of all time. This is still Justin Herbert who took this team to the playoff. This is still Justin Herbert who can and is able to put this team on the back if he needs to. Yeah. This is who he is. It's just we have not been able to see this version of Justin Herbert because of everything that's taken place in front of him. And credit to those guys who are currently there, because they're holding up and they're getting the job done. But we can't be so short-sighted in this game of football that we lose sight of who guys actually are and what they bring to the table.
When we know it only takes, right, like there was a couple bad string of performances this year, and people were already ready to put Trey Lance in. And that's just kind of the life of a quarterback, and everyone forgets, right? Like everyone forgets what you're able to do when you are protected. But that was such a huge part of this game. But it was also just the moments that he had, right? Like that throw, like you talked about, Jim, to Lad McConkey, like that throw to Quentin Johnston, man, is just a drop in the bucket. Like you can't, and thank God Quentin Johnston caught it, because if you go up for that one hand, you better make sure you get it, because you're either going to have a highlight or you're going to have an extremely low light in that situation. But also, guys, but the Chargers they had to play a clean game, right? That was going into it. Justin Herbert didn't turn the ball over, guys. This is 4 straight games he had with an interception. He breaks that in this one, and that was huge, right? In a game like this, there were so many times it could have turned. So him taking care of the football right there was just gigantic for this team, and it really never was close. Like, we've seen some questionable decisions for him. I don't think there was a ball even close to getting intercepted. I mean, it was a full-blown laser show out there on Sunday from Justin Herbert, but also he shows when you need him to, and that's what you want his running game to be, right? When you need him to do it, he can still do it. And that's what I thought was great about this one, because the Chargers are up 7 to get a chance. Your defense comes out and gets 2, not 3 and outs, but they get 2 big stops to start the second half. And Justin Herbert, after a very questionable holding call on Trevor Penning, I will say, I'm not
very questionable. No. We just call it what it is. That was a terrible call.
Kenyon's allowed to say it.
That was an absolute terrible call.
I'm sure Kenjon had a run like that at one point that got, because that was an Omarion Hampton 18-yard gain. You're on the verge of field goal range right now. You're sitting in 1st and 20. I'm sure Kenjon probably has the name of an offensive lineman that he's not going to tell us that had a big time holding call like that. That probably cost him a big 20-yard chunk there. But no, but on that though, I bring that penalty up not to complain about the penalty, but to show the Chargers being able to overcome it, right? Because that is a situation in 1st and 20 where this team in obvious pass situations has just not been able to live. So, it's a 7-yard pass to Keenan Allen. It's an 8-yard pass to Oronde Gadsden just to get you into a 3rd and 7. And I thought that was smart there. And on 3rd and 7, Justin Herbert puts it upon himself, takes a 35-yard carry. Probably should have slid at the end of it,
Yes, he should have.
Probably, definitely seemed like he banged up that hand a little bit on that carry. Definitely was favoring it after that, but also, had a quarterback sneak after that. Like, that was a huge thing too, for him to be at the point with this hand to be able to go under center in these short yardage situations, because it's just, when you have that, Jim, quietly, the Chargers have one of the best tush pushes in the game when that 6'6", 240-pound quarterback can get under center. And if you have that cheat code on 3rd and 1, it really makes a big difference.
He's a moose. He doesn't get credit for that because they haven't done it. And they're doing it now, and they showed everybody today this is something else that they can do pretty effectively because he's gigantic.
Yeah.
This is not Kyler Murray back there under center. I mean, I love this guy's game. I mean, he seems to really have a sixth sense of when it's time to take off and run the ball, because he knows how effective he can be running the football. And he's not afraid. I mean, that's the only way to put it. He's not afraid. This guy is not afraid to go out there, and he's not reckless about it. But he's KB. You've said this a couple of times during the season. This is something that's in his DNA. When he sees that thing break down, there's 20 yards in front of him. I'm going. I'm taking off, man. And to pile on that, I got to say, is there a tougher quarterback in the National Football League than Justin Herbert? If there is, I'd like to meet him.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Stafford, would probably be out there. I remember him playing through a broken hand at one point. Like, it's such a hard thing. I think Josh Allen might be the NFL's Iron Man right now, but like, Justin Herbert should be graded on a curve in that conversation, because you can put whoever you want out there. That person has not been as beat up as Justin Herbert has. And honestly, the one person you could probably say has been as beat up as Justin Herbert has since he's been in the league is Joe Burrow. And that dude's missed big chunks out of half of the seasons he's played in so far. That's what usually happens.
Yeah.
That's what usually happens. But again, it's to the point where it's like, okay, Justin can run. He can QB sneak it when they need him to. And it's like, they're hitting at like a 90% clip on that. But you want him to not have to do that, right? Against the Philadelphia Eagles, he was just going to have to put his body on the line. That was just going to be what had to happen in that game for them to get it. In this game, he had choices, right? Like, and when he had to run, he picked his spots well, I thought. But also, the homecoming of Quentin Johnston, and Kenyon, you've been here now for kind of, the curve of this, the arc, I would say, for Quentin Johnston, who starts out as a first-round rookie who, really underwhelms, has some big drops and big moments. For him to have this game, and again, like I said earlier, it's not just the 4 for 104 and the touchdown, right? It's how he's doing it. It's the one-handed catch. It's the tough plays over the middle. It's fighting for yards after the catch. Like, this did feel like, after he missed last week, hey, Trey Harris is looking good. You got Keenan, you had Ladd. Will Quentin Johnston fade away a little bit here? Absolutely not. I mean, 2 of the better catches he makes. That, fade throw down the sideline. The other one in the end zone. Quentin Johnston was a monster on Sunday.
And with those guys putting out the way that they are, that means we can use tight ends to block.
Yeah.
Tight ends can stay in and block and give us some more. I mean, I like that 13-man thing anyway. So, I love that opportunity.
You know what having a guy like Trey does to a guy like Quentin Johnston, or for any receiver in that room? It lights a fire up under your butt, because you know what's coming behind you. You know who's there. I can't slip up. Yeah. I can't really. I had a running back coach named Jim Skipper, Carolina Panthers, probably my guy. Great dude. When I first got into the league, he told me, he said, "Hey, don't go to the bathroom. You might lose your job while you're holding your John." And so, but when you have a room, right, again, to the talent of this receiver room, and you have these young guys catching steam and it lights a fire up on you as a vet, because here's how the league works. For those of you who don't know, they're trying to replace you from the time you get in. For a veteran that's on that team, it's much cheaper to keep a younger guy, if they can keep a younger guy who has a high potential ceiling, and a guy that they don't have to pay a lot. And so when you have somebody like that, it definitely lights a fire up on you and makes you, okay, let me get back out here and keep going. So maybe, Quentin knew what was in that room. He's seen what they drafted. But he's had a hell of a year, shook back from last season. He's made big play after big play this season in the games where he has been available, and has really become something special for this team.
You're 100% right. And the thing is about, player personnel and stuff like that is the teams are always going to say the right things about you. When Jim Harbaugh gets up at the press conference, he's never going to just bash Quentin Johnston, even if he has a big drop in a big game. It's just not going to happen. Where they speak is with their actions. Their actions told you they drafted 2 receivers in their top 5 picks in this last draft, right? Yeah. That's what tells you. And I remember going back to, Keenan Allen had a funny press conference, after they had drafted Quentin Johnston, where he's like, yeah, like, I take that against me. Like, and this is a 10-year, kind of fringe Hall of Fame type of player. But I'm saying and to your point, like, if Keenan Allen has that on his mind with what that dude has on his resume, right? You best believe Quentin Johnston has that on his mind. Like, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are like 2 of the best of friends. When Mike Williams was drafted in the first round, Keenan Allen had some thoughts about it. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Because the thing is like, And both of those guys ended up getting paid. But for the most part, if you have two $20+ million receivers, you're going to have to make a tough decision there. And that man's in some way coming for your money. But I do think just like for Justin Herbert, to trust him the way he has and for him to kind of reward that trust, even in situations where I didn't love it, like on 3rd and 1, in the second half, you're hot, your run game's hot, you decide to throw a fade down the sideline to Quentin Johnston, and it was absolutely a pass interference on Chargers' 7th round pick this year, Triquez Bridges, who was in coverage. And I thought even on that play, Quentin Johnston did a better job than what we've seen from him in the past, trying to play through the defender to come back and get the football. He probably should have thrown his hands around, maybe been a little bit more dramatic about it. He probably gets a call right there.
Take some acting classes.
You got to take some acting classes there for sure. He was trying to moss him, but later on in that game, though, with the Chargers not in field goal range, they just get a huge stop, 4th and 10 against Dallas. They have them on the ropes, but they're about to punt it back. They're at midfield. Jim Harbaugh's not going for it on 4th and 9 in that situation. And on 3rd and 9, they motion Quentin Johnston. Great. Don't make him have to worry about the press at the line of scrimmage, Kenyon. And who do they go to on that play? He beats Trayvon Diggs, picks up that big first down right there, and the Chargers end up getting a touchdown that puts the final nail in the coffin.
Yeah. You talk about trust. He's earned it. He's earned every bit of it. And it's one thing to do it one game, come out and have a good game, be consistent. But I can remember going to the beginning of the season where we were talking about Quentin. My biggest thing was, okay, can he do it again? Can he continue to come out and be the same player day in, day out, game in and game out? Can he continue to have these performances? And he's done that every single week that he's been available. He's gone out, he's performed, he's made the tough catches, he's got the yards after catch, he's made fantastic plays. As you can see today, the one-handed catch. This is what he's turned into, and that respect that he's earned, it's valid. It's not given. He earned every bit of that. He put in the work. He completely changed the narratives that were out there about him from last season to this season, and I'm extremely proud of that kid for what he is and what he's producing and how he's producing.
I couldn't agree more. And I think also, the other big thing is he has a 5th-year option the Chargers will have to decide on in this offseason.
They're going to pick it up.
But and that's the craziest thing is you still have 2 young guys, right? You still have Lad Cheap. If he keeps playing like this, how could you not? And I think that's what it becomes, right? How could you not?
You have to, because obviously you're looking at Keenan Allen, right? Yeah. He's an older guy. You don't know how much longer he's going. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And you don't know if he's going to be back. You don't know what type of deal he'll be back on. So when you're looking at this roster and you're thinking from a business standpoint, you're looking at age.
Yeah.
We drafted 2 young guys, but Quentin is still young. Lad is young. We have a young core. And so what Quentin has produced, I'm definitely going to keep that, because I can keep him at a lower price rate than what I would have to do if I went out and got somebody in free agency.
Well, and I think the thing is at least by picking up your 5th-year option, you get that last year to decide if it wants to be a 3 or 4-year option at much bigger money, right? So at least you buy yourself to some time to see if he can reproduce it. But Jim, we haven't even talked about this Chargers defense yet, and we have to get into that because they proved something big. And in the first half, it looked like the same old story. The Chargers' elite defense struggling against one of the top offenses. The second half couldn't have looked any more different. We're getting into all that and more in today's Locked On Chargers Squad Show. First, I need to tell you guys about FanDuel, which is the only place that I place my bets when I'm in gambling states, because Sundays move fast, and one big play, suddenly everything feels different, and that's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into that moment. For example, in this game, when the Cowboys go down and score that opening touchdown pretty easily, they were already the favorite. You could have got great odds on the Chargers at that point, and that's the whole point about live betting. But it's just so many different things that you can bet on as well. Live spreads, money lines adjust instantly, player props update as guys heat up, and you can bet the next touchdown scores, the drive results, the totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility, and you guys haven't missed out on the action today. There's still a game tonight between the Patriots and the Ravens, with the Ravens as 3.5-point favorites in a game that will have huge implications on the AFC. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. All right, guys. Well, I've been, saving this talk for later in the show, but it doesn't mean it's any less important. And that is what the Chargers defense was able to do in this one. And, thank you to all the everydayers who are checking out today's show. Happy that I could fill in for Pete today and be here for a really fun post-game show after a big-time win. Would have been a little sadder had the Chargers lost some of that momentum, but as it stands right now, the Chargers are as hot as any team in the league, have won 4 straight, and they don't do it without this defense, Jim. And going into it, I talked this week, this was the test, right? The crossover this week for me was the biggest story for this Chargers team is, hey, against the Colts, you got the score run up on you. They put up 38 on you, right? Then you go against the Jaguars, you totally lay an egg. They put up 35 on you. And then the first half in this game looked exactly the same as those games started. It was one of those FanDuel live bets where it's like, hey, I've seen this. I've seen this play out before. When it starts like this, it usually doesn't stop. But then the second half comes, and we're talking, Jim, about a second half shutout of this Cowboys defense. I couldn't be more impressed with the way this Chargers defense answered the call, especially in that second half.
Daniel, I got to say this too. I've been uncomfortable before watching the other team come out and say, okay, score, now match that, score, now match that. You never really kind of want to play catch up. You want to get out in front and make them chase you. And I think that's what this team is typically somebody that wants to get out. We don't want to chase people. We want to get out in front, let you chase up if we're having our druthers here. But the thing is I was never worried. Dak put one up, we're going to put one up. He put one up, we're going to put one up. We have to keep doing that because it's this defense. We know that offense is very capable. We know that Dak is having an amazing season. If this team had a better 1-loss record, they'd be talking about this guy in the MVP race because he's been so good. So I expected all of that, and how the Chargers defense reacted to that was going to be everything. And you know what? They didn't panic. They got beat up in the first half, but you know what? They beat up the Cowboys in the first half too. It's like, all right, let's see if we can regroup, start this thing in the second half. And man, what could you have asked for a better Christmas present than to shut out the Cowboys in the second half to nail a coffin? Come on. No. Beautiful performance by the defense today. No panic in the first half and absolutely ratchet down and lock them out in the second half.
The defense just had to settle down on both sides, right? Because it was a 100-meter dash to the finish line in that first half. It really felt like a college football game where zero defense, all offense, all gas, no brakes. But this defense came alive. This defense showed what it has been again. For the most part of all this season, this defense has been the highlight of this team. This defense has been a huge reason as to why this team is sitting where they're sitting. And so, once they settled down, Tony Jefferson, Derwin, all those guys, our DBs had a little rough day, Garden Pickens. He had a little day on us.
That's the crazy thing about this game is you get that second half shutout and Kenyon, it's 7 catches for $130 for a touchdown. That's one of my keys for success was rattle George Pickens because he can get out of it. They did a good job of getting him involved early and giving him some chances because he's very much a momentum type of player. But man, Cam Hart, I feel for you, bro. A couple times, really, really good coverage, and the man just made a play on you. But for Pickens to go off like that, and for you to still have this defensive performance, I think even puts the cherry on top.
Well, if you look at the Dallas Cowboy offense, he's really the highlight of their offense. I mean, you have CD Lamb with 6 for 51.
You'll take that every day.
You'll take that every single day. Where I can just look at one guy and say, okay, this guy had a good game, but I can't go down the stat sheet and say this guy had a good game, this guy had a good game. No, Dak had a good game, 21 of 30. Run game was non-existent, 9 for 34, 8 for 23. I can live with that. That's not moving the needle. George Pickens 7 for 131, and then after that is just an average game for everybody else. So I'm okay with one guy having his way, as long as we're containing everybody and that one guy isn't doing it every single play and scoring touchdowns, it's not bad. And you expect a guy like George Pickens, who has all the potential and all the talent in the world. We've seen what he was in Pittsburgh. He had those moments. He had those plays. That's just who he is. He's going to get his one way or the other. But regardless of all of that, this defense showed up, they showed out, and they shut him out in the second half.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome to watch. And it really, I thought, came down to a couple of big moments. First of all, just getting that first stop in the second half to kind of settle down, to your point. And I think the only reason that happens is because the Chargers' run defense came out a lot better in the second half. Because the thing is, the Chargers have a pretty unstoppable pass rush trio when they can use them right now. When you can get Thule on the field, when you get Odafe Owe on the field and Khalil Mack at the same time, That is, I mean, Daniel Popper from The Athletic wrote a great article this week. I mean, that group had 12 sacks and 60 times on the field together. That's a 20% sack rate and good for a 55% pressure rate when you get those guys on it. In the first half, you couldn't get into those packages, right? Because you were letting them get 4, 5, 6 yards per carry and letting them stay in these manageable situations where George Pickens can pick up a slant for 8 yards and keep the chains moving. So I thought that was a big part of it. But to me, Jim, going back to what this team wants to be and whether or not, the formula can actually work, especially in these big games late in the season, where I thought this game turned was with the Cowboys really going down to tie the game. They're down by 7. They get deep into Chargers territory, and they get a 4th and 1, right? George Pickens makes a bobbling catch on the sideline. Benjamin St-Juste, a good job of making sure he gets out of bounds, doesn't get that last yard. And on 4th and 1, this Chargers defense, which was kind of coming into form as far as their run defense was, but this was the biggest moment because they absolutely shut that thing down. They did not give up an inch, and that man was stuffed in the hole, and that was a huge, huge play for this Chargers team.
Huge play, sends a message and establishes, who's in control of the line here in this case. When I look at this team and what they've done defensively over the year, I'm really proud of the way that these guys have played and stepped up and not left the offense in bad positions. The offense does the same thing, in trying to not leave the defense in a bad situation. But as I look forward, kind of looking forward and looking back at the same time as to what we faced defensively in the past and what we're looking at offensively in the front. Today was the big offensive thing. I'm not, I don't want to overstate this, but I'm not afraid of CJ Stroud. I'm more concerned with that defense. But you know what? The way this offense is playing, it's like, we're going to test you. This is the way I want to look at it. This Charger offense is going to put you guys to test. Go back and look at who the Houston Texans have played in the last 16 weeks. Take a look at that and how many really tough nuts are on that list. It's not a big number. And, how are we playing now? They're playing good now. We're playing good now. This is going to be a great football game next week, but I'm not afraid of CJ Stroud. This is not the guy that we saw a couple years ago. Not the same guy.
Jim wants to smoke.
Yeah, Jim, you're talking that talk.
I'm ready for
you talking that
I
talk,
love that
Jim.
confidence. No, I love it. But to your point, that's how it has to be, though. Like, having one really, really good side of the football is not enough against these other playoff teams. And that's the one big thing about the Texans. Like, the reason they've been a little scarier in recent weeks, and their marquee win is that, what they did to Josh Allen in that game against the Bills, and the Bills have been extremely hot since then. But the Texans are figuring things out on offense, which scares me a little bit more. And now I trust the Chargers defense against that offense. But at the same time, these teams have two good sides of the football, right? Yeah. The Chargers haven't been playing good offensive football the last few weeks, right? They've been getting it done. They've been doing enough, but it hasn't been pretty, right? We've all watched them kind of, Justin Herbert in this running game kind of drag them through the mud the last couple of weeks. And you're going to have to do that, right? And I think that's what this game symbolizes, though. They can win the bar fight, right? When you drag them into the mud, Tony Jefferson will get a pick to end your game, right? You'll get a Deion Henley pick. You'll get a Derwin James locking down Travis Kelce in a big moment because the defense has finishers. And that's not enough. People talk about clutch quarterbacks all the time. They don't talk about the finishers on defense. The Chargers have closers. They have Trevor Hoffman coming out of the pen to close this thing down in big moments when they need it, right? Obviously, I'm talking to LA people, but Trevor Hoffman did enough for the Dodgers. You guys understand. Either way, the thing is, the Chargers need both sides to look good. If they really want this team to be the one that makes a run in a year that could have no Lamar Jackson in the playoffs, that has no Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, right? That has no Joe Burrow in the playoffs. And that's why I told Jim not to get me started about, Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater. Chargers are a Super Bowl team. They're at least a Super Bowl threat if they have their starting tackles right now. And I'll stand on that with everything, because that's the easily biggest glaring issue. And honestly, we should all be holding our breath to see what's happening with Jamari Sawyer, because that dude has been a total godsend at left tackle. Yeah. But the stakes in this game were high for a lot of reasons. The Chargers had to show that they could do it on both sides of the ball and say, hey, we're not just a good defense and that the offense can do enough. The Chargers offense looked great, and their defense in the second half looked great, which is especially, I think, impressive because they had guys falling left and right. Dante Jackson left this game early. He's your best corner, right? The guy who comes in for him, Benjamin St-Juste, leaves this game early. And the Chargers found a way, and it was really a couple of plays down the stretch where they really got home, and the Chargers pass rush finally coming through at the end of the game. We have so much more, including the stakes and everything that came along with this game, because it was a big one on today's Locked On Chargers Squad Show. All right, guys. Well, we talked a little bit about the defense, but there's probably still some more guys that had to be shouted out, or at least some more moments here, because I did think that there was some big time plays, and when the Chargers needed to get them, they were able to do it, especially after, it was a sieve in the first half. You give up 17 straight points. And I thought them finishing the first half strong was a really good sign for them. But, I mean, you look at it, the pass rush, the Cowboys offensive line came to play. I mean, the Chargers pass rush, especially early in this game, was not nearly as effective as it needed to be. And what happened was the Chargers secondary got hung out to dry a lot in that first half. I was really feeling for Cam Hart, but that's the other thing is the Chargers and Jesse Minter, Kenyon, being able to plug and play so many guys. I mean, we had Marcus Williams running around a lot. They signed him off the streets this year. Last year was Marcus May coming in and getting an interception in his first game. But, to lose, basically you spent most of the second half without Benjamin St. Juste and Dante Jackson, who's your best corner, and you still found a way to get through it. And I thought this Chargers secondary, Steve Quinkskill, the secondary coach, Jesse Minter, Mike Elston, the defensive line coach, that's to me kind of where you see good coaching, and at least the most clearly, because it is such a subjective thing. I think when you see these guys that are having to plug and play, and you're still getting that shutout in the second half, Kenyon, I think really kind of screams, okay, hey, this is a coaching staff that's doing the most with the pieces that they have.
You hit the nail on the head with that, but not only that, this is a credit to the depth of this roster, because you lose Dante, you lose
Benjamin St. Juste,
you lose St. Juste, but then you still have Hart, you still have Steele, two guys who last season were all that we had, right? So you still have these guys that can, okay, we lose those guys, we got two other guys that are just as capable that can go out there and get the job done. So it's a credit to the way that they drafted, the way that they brought guys in. It's a credit to the coach's ability to develop. It's a credit to these players' ability to stay ready for any situation, in any circumstance to take place. And it's a credit in film study, knowing what I'm looking at, knowing who I'm going against, and being able to go out on the field and execute.
Yeah, it really is. And it's just they've needed so many guys to step up, Jim, this year, and it just feels like when you have the injuries they've had so many times to kind of fold, and they've had every excuse to be like, it just wasn't our year. We had a year from hell. All of our best players kept getting banged up, and we'll see, the extent of some of these guys' injuries, and it's not to say that it won't play a factor down the stretch, but Jim, the Chargers just matched their 2024 win total. They won 11 games last year, and they're there now with 2 games left remaining and 2 tough games remaining on their schedule for sure. But to be able to weather the storm, and then more than that, to beat the good teams that are here on your schedule, right? I just think it's such a testament to the trajectory of this team right now, the Jim Harbaugh effect, the culture that's been building. And I think that's something where it's just hey, man, they're building something sustainable here. They're trying to build a monster. They're trying to build a bully. Games like this, I feel only kind of further the resolve of these players that can start to really believe in that message.
And that said, don't you feel like the Harbaugh era is ahead of schedule? I hate to answer your question with a question, but don't you feel like it? Because they're playing defense. What we saw defensively today was absolutely beautiful. I want to keep hearing Thule's name. I want these announcers. I want to keep hearing Thule's name. I want to hear Adafi Awe. I want to hear those guys' names from the national announcers on TV, because that means they're making an impact in there. But I want to back up to what I said about Harbaugh. It's they picked Omarion Hampton. He got hurt. That was bad in the beginning. It looks really good now because he looks so fresh and he's running so hard and so angry. It seems like the Harbaugh effect is in full effect right now. We're getting everything that he wants. They're playing defense. We're running the football. And like you said, it's my job to get Justin Herbert into the Hall of Fame. Man, he's getting that job done right now. He's on the path.
It definitely feels like he is right now. And it does feel like they're ahead of schedule, because to me, the schedule always seemed to be kind of 2026. At that point, you have to be kind of contending for a Super Bowl. If this is really going the way it needs to go, and if things are going in the way that Jim Harbaugh's teams have, right, where it's, building the foundation. And it goes back to something we had as a conversation this week, Kenyon, where it's just man, these draft picks, look at the contributors in these last 2 draft classes, guys. Even Keandre Lambert-Smith in this one, if he's a legitimate factor, you're talking about in the first 6 rounds of the last 2 draft classes, you have 12 guys that are making a substantial impact for you. And you look up and down, Joe Alt, Ladd McConkey, Justin Aboigbe plays 26 snaps as a rookie. He's in there for you, contributing on the defensive line and making big plays on special teams. 2 fifth-round corners in Cam Hart and Tarheeb Still. Kamani Vidal does nothing, gets cut, comes back, and then shows that he can be a legitimate starting running back in this league. And then you go to the rookies, Aronde, right? Trey Harris, Keandre Lambert-Smith, Omarion Hampton looking like a first-round pick. Like, the foundation is being built, and their flaws. The Chargers didn't do enough on the interior of their offensive line. Some of the free agent deals haven't worked out the way that they thought that they would. But at the same time, man, it's like, how can you not get excited? Like, what will this team look like next year with another draft class stacked on top of it and 2 draft classes worth of valuable, cheap players on rookie contracts? Like, that's how you work around a $60 million quarterback. And it's really non-negotiable, because if you're not hitting on those picks, you don't have enough money to fill the team out otherwise. And it's something that the Chiefs just ran into. They're going to be $30 to $50 million over the salary cap next year. Yeah. When you get contributors the way that Joe Ortiz has and getting these young guys coming through as rookies, like, that's a beautiful thing.
I'm looking just at the draft class as you just went over them. Almost every single one of these guys are contributors to this current roster right now. Omarion Hampton, Trey Harris, Jamari Caldwell, KLS, Aronde, RJ Mickens, all guys who are
dudes,
not just here and there, consistent contributors.
Starting.
It is a credit to Ortiz and what he did from a skill position wise, and it does make you excited about, okay, now your skill positions are you're kind of solidified there, right? You can always try and look to upgrade, but I don't have to go draft for that. So now coming into this next draft class, now I can focus on what I need. Linemen, offensive linemen, maybe going to get some more edge rusher. You can really focus and bulk up the trenches of this team and really turn this team into what we're talking about, that Super Bowl contender that we all desire to be.
One, and with the more of a short-term scope here, Jim, like, there was a part of this season where, to me, it just felt like, hey, the Chargers might, drag the corpse of whatever they're playing with this season into the playoffs, but it's really hard to have the faith that this team in its current version with no Joe Alt and no Rashawn Slater can win a playoff game. And now you're talking about in the last 3 weeks, like, say what you will about the Cowboys also beat the Chiefs and the Eagles in back-to-back weeks. Like, this is not as bad of a team as their record would say, especially after the additions, and no Quentin Williams in this game definitely played a big factor. But I think that's, to me, one of the big things here, Jim, where it's just like every week they get me buying back into a little bit more of their stock, where it's like, man, maybe don't count them out in the first round of the playoffs, because the biggest monkey on this team's back is Justin Herbert getting that first one, and it feels like a cascade from there into success, but they got to get the one, and I'm starting to believe they might be able to do it.
I think if the coaching staff is on their game, they're using the word opportunity with this team right now, because you hit on it a second ago. No Mahomes, let's start with that. No Lamar, let's start with that. Who knows what happens the rest of the way? I mean, Bo Nix, how afraid am I of this guy? I mean, I'm afraid of Sean Payton, his coach. He's pretty smart. They're playing pretty good defense. Pat Surtain is really good. I know I'm getting ahead of myself here a little bit, but it's like, the word opportunity comes in because win 2 more games and see how that seeding shakes out, and make Denver, make them have to try a little bit harder. If we were to knock them out of that number 1 spot, and everybody's talking, I love the media talking about, oh, Denver, if they get the number 1 seed, they're going to be hard to keep out of the Super Bowl. We play this game for a reason on grass instead of on paper. And the way the Chargers are playing right now, I'll take my chances.
Absolutely. And it just feels like that it would have been upsetting. Like, making it back-to-back years is great, and I think it just establishes, hey, if we can make the playoffs with no Joe Alt and no Rashawn Slater, there's never an excuse for this team, absent Justin Herbert missing a huge chunk of the season, where this team shouldn't be in the playoffs every year. And you still have to go back to like the 2010 season, the last time this team actually made it back-to-back years. So making it would have been an accomplishment in its own right, but it still would have left you with a sour taste in your mouth if they got, BTA'd in the first round by whoever they're playing, a better team. And I just think that it does feel like this, they can do something. Now, they're never going to have the ceiling that they would have had with those guys on the field, but the foundation is there. And it really feels like a couple pieces away, a couple more lucky breaks, right, as far as the injury front goes, and just not to your major, maybe 2 of the top 5 players on your offense. This is a team that's something to be reckoned with, but we haven't gotten to Kenjon Barner's special team spectacular yet. The man himself, his expertise, and one thing I would say, in a game where it went the way it did today. You better hope you're a kickoff returner and not a punt returner, Kenyon, because you ain't getting many chances as a punt returner in this game. But to something that's been building, though, Delshon Phillips, bro. Like, was that 3 straight kickoff return tackles? That man is a beast. And also just the Chargers, against Kevontae Turpin, he did break out one to about the 40, but I thought overall, like, this is just a return game, a coverage unit that's really, really growing, and I think hitting their stride at the right time.
You're hitting the nail on the head today, okay? I love what I've seen from Delshon. I know Delshon, we played together. So to see where he's at in his career right now is an absolute beautiful thing. Super proud of him and where he's at. But you need guys like Delshon, guys that are coming out to make a name for themselves on special teams. For a lot of these guys, special teams is where you earn your opportunity on offense or defense. And so when you look at the way Delshon is playing from a linebacking position, that's a guy that I would want to give an opportunity to. So I'm loving what I'm saying. We need to get more out of Ladd McConkey on punt return. I gotta have more, and I don't know what it is. Is this bad?
No, you're good.
Okay,
I'm only hearing you.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. We have to get more out of punt return, and I've been saying that for the last couple of weeks. I don't know if it's a comfort thing for Ladd. I don't know if it's a confidence thing for Ladd back there. And I don't know if the special team coach is just telling them, "Hey, fair catch the ball." I'm not sure what it is, but you need to have someone there that you trust to go catch the ball and that you have the confidence in to help your offense get in better field position. I think just fair catching the ball with space is doing this offense a disservice, especially where we lack on the offensive line. Like,
it felt like there was a couple chances. One of those fair catches seemed a little early with, for Ladd, it's like, hey, I trust you there to try to make a guy miss.
You look, I used to say this to the young guys that were back there for me, and I'm not saying this about Ladd, but you could be anything in the world you want to be as a punt returner except a coward and scared. Can't do it. You won't be able to last. And I'm not saying that about Ladd. So before a fan clips that or runs off with it, that's not what I'm saying. But as a punt returner, that's the mentality you have to have. And for the last couple of weeks, there's been a lot of opportunity out there where I felt Ladd could have done something. And we've seen what Ladd can do.
Yeah.
Ladd had the punt return earlier in the season.
Yeah.
So we know that he can be dangerous back there. So that is a spot on the field that I'm really interested in seeing what we do and how we go about that moving forward, because we're going to need that come playoff time. You're going to need every phase of this game to be clicking. You need to be playing complementary football in all phases, and special teams has to come along for this team to really make a run the way that we want them to make a run.
I couldn't agree anymore. And the thing is like, where it's especially going to be valuable? Against really, really good defenses you're going to be playing these next couple of weeks. Like, if you can set up 2 scoring drives with your special teams unit, like, that's the difference between wins and losses at this level, especially when you're going up against some of the best teams in the league. So I couldn't agree any more than that. And obviously, to your point, against the Commanders in that game, a huge kind of pivotal moment got called back on an unnecessary hold on a Ladd McConkey punt return touchdown. We know he has it. It's hard to imagine with the nagging injuries that Darius Davis has had this year that he's going to be a factor in that regard, or come back to at least save that return unit, right? Because we know when he's fully healthy, he's the guy there and has, the all-pro nod to prove it, right? But against the Texans, it's going to be tough sledding for this offense. What they could really, really use is a huge jolt from that special teams unit.
Well, I would love to see back there. I would love to see Tarheeb still back there.
Oh, okay.
We seen him in spots earlier in the year back there, and I really liked what I seen from him. And so if it's I don't want to get you hurt type thing, then what are we putting you back there for? I remember being in Tampa Bay, we had Antonio Brown. And so there would be times where they would tell me, hey, we want AB to return this ball, and AB would go back there and fair catch it. I'm like, bro, what for what? What are we doing? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if that's a fear, which is a valid thing, right? You don't want to get Ladd hurt. But if that's a fear, why are you even putting him there? He shouldn't be back there. And that's what
agree.
The way that Ladd, from earlier in the season, that Washington game, that return that he had, and a couple of returns before then, till now, it almost seems as if he's either handcuffed to someone telling him if you don't let it bounce, fair catch, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna, in the words of Coach Boone, let the kids play. If you're gonna put them back there, take the handcuffs off of him and let him go play football because he's a dangerous man with the ball in his hands.
That's an interesting observation. He does look compromised somehow back there, or maybe not all the way invested in doing that. And I don't know if that's coaching, just let it bounce, just take a fair catch, or if that's, I don't want to set myself up to get blasted for this one. Either way, if either side is uncomfortable in that role, then let's put somebody else.
All I'm thinking about is Antonio Brown giving a flying knee to a punter on like his first ever punt return. You don't see many punt returners getting unnecessary roughness on your punt return, but Antonio Brown, a rare case. But
giving a punter sweet chin music, that's deserving of it.
Hey, if you're gonna be one of those 11, you better be ready to strap up, buddy. Because you could have a flying knee from Antonio Brown coming your way. Well, let's get out of here on this. It's been a great show. Thank you to the Everydayers for showing up for this postcast/squad show today. But I'm going to go back to something I picked up on a little bit, which is Jim Daniels wants the smoke from the Texans. The Chargers have a gigantic game because not only is the division, depending on how this Broncos game plays out, still up in the air, the Chargers technically still have a chance for the number one seed right now. They're not doing it, Jim, unless they beat the Texans next week, and it feels like you're as confident now that the Chargers can get that sweet, sweet revenge.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to put my money on Justin Herbert over CJ Stroud. I don't want to say that he just had a lucky season. He's more than a flash in the pan. I know that the guy's got talent, but I know that he's not playing with a full deck either. And I'm not talking about mentally. I'm talking about guys to throw to, guys to protect him, and guys to hand the ball off to. Who are we worried about here in this game? Nick Chubb? Is Nick Chubb going to be the one to keep that running game going and make me scared? I don't think so. So, I'm very confident going into this game. You want to feel the same way, Everydayers? Go back and look at the Texans' schedule. Look at who they lost to and when they lost and who they beat and when they beat them. You'll feel more confident, too. Yeah,
they're hot. They're hot. The Chargers are hot. It should be a big matchup. But I just don't think there's anything sweeping the Chiefs, obviously, was like, hey, they hadn't beat them since 2021, Patrick Mahomes. So that's huge. But, as far as showing how much different you are of a team from 2024 to 2025, the best way you can do that is by going and beating the Texans next week, because that defense still looks as disgusting as it did last year. And it has, slowed down MVP Josh Allen already this year. So they're going to have their
win today anyway. This was supposed to be a win against a crummy Dallas team, and they're not that crummy. And that offense was on fire, and they kept pace and took care of business and adjusted the game the way they needed it to be today. And they're going to have to adjust it and grind it out next week too. But I'll take Justin Herbert over CJ Stroud.
And at the end of the day, you got to 11 wins, man. The Chargers were sitting at 8-4 with the Chiefs, the Eagles, the Cowboys coming off of beating the Chiefs and the Eagles, the Texans and the Broncos. There was a non-zero chance this team could have folded and lost 5 straight. I'll tell it to you straight up. And they had to fight for those first 2 wins against the Eagles and the Chiefs. Today, they made it look a little easier, which I think is showing you that the confidence in this team is growing. And if you don't think that they're going to win a playoff game and they're not going to be able to do it without Joe Walton, Rashawn Slater, that's fine. Don't tell them that, because the way those boys are playing right now, they absolutely believe in the direction of this team and that they have a chance to do something special in 2025.
You hinted at this earlier when you talked about where this team has been, where it's come from, and where it's headed. Jim Harbaugh should be up for Coach of the Year.
Down the drum.
I don't. He should absolutely be up for Coach of the Year. Again, this team's sitting at 8. This team had every reason in the world to just say, "Hey, let's just not our year. Let's turn it in. Let's go out here. Let's compete." But hey, it is what it is. This team has fought each and every game. Has never lost faith in each other. Has never stopped fighting for each other. And it's, again, sitting at 11 wins and sitting in a position to be able to fight for the number 1 seed and to win this division. So all credits to this coaching staff, but Jim Harbaugh definitely needs to be in the conversation for Coach of the Year, because I don't see anybody who's had to do and overcome as much as this Los Angeles Chargers team has had to overcome this season.
When the thing is too is, I hate to speak for Kenjon, who has 3 Super Bowl championship rings, but what I would go on to to think though, Kenjon, is that you've seen things like that. You've seen teams who have overcome these things. I guarantee there wasn't a single championship roster that you were part of that didn't deal with some of the same things this Chargers team has been able to go through this year and weather. So Coach of the Year, maybe with 10 weeks last week it didn't look great. if you get to 13 wins with the things this team has had to deal with, yeah, Jim Harbaugh should be coach of the year. Absolutely. But that's got, bring it to Pete leaves for 2 seconds. Dan does an hour and 5-minute Locked On Chargers squad show afterwards. But hey, so much fun, boys. Thank you to the everydayers for being here. Make sure you're subscribing to the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel so you make sure you have the notifications on and never miss a show like this, especially when we're going live. We appreciate everyone who joined in. The everydayers showed up really good. I mean, we've been sitting over 200 this whole show. Shout out to you guys. A lot to be excited about with this team right now. Shout out to Kenjon Barner, 3-time Super Bowl champ. Shout out to Jim Daniels, 0-time Super Bowl champ, and Daniel Wade, 0-time Super Bowl champs as well. So you have more than both of us combined, Kenyon. That's totally fine. But hey, thank you boys for being with with me today, with Pete out. Glad we were still able to get this show in because I think there's a lot to be excited about. Yeah. So make sure you guys are checking us out. I'll be doing my live show on the Daily Locked On Chargers show later on today. Make sure you're here for that. Get David Drogemeyer's perspective, who was at the game today with his son. The curse of David is broken because I was scared as soon as he told me he was going to that game, but the Chargers pulled it out in spite of that. So super fun to be here today. Thank you everyone for joining in, and we'll be back with you later on today on the Daily Locked On Chargers show. But until then, bolt up!